From your perspective, who should the DOJ target as part of their investigation? What specific figures in the Obama administration?
Well, based on what I read, and I read pretty much what you read, it would be President Obama. He started it. And Biden was there with him, and Comey was there, and Clapper, the whole group was there. Brennan, they were all there in a room. Right here, this was the room. This is much more beautiful than it was then, but that's okay. I have nice pictures up that came out of the vaults. They were in there for 100 years. This is much more beautiful. We have the Declaration of Independence now in the room, which wasn't here. I guess people didn't feel too good about putting it here, but I do. But you know what? If you look at those papers, they have them stone cold, and it was President Obama. It wasn't lots of people all over the place. It was them too. But the leader of the gang was President Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him? And except for the fact that he gets shielded by the press for his entire life, that's the one they... Look, he's guilty. It's not a question. You know, I like to say, let's give it time. It's there. He's guilty. This was treason. This was every word you can think of. They tried to steal the election. They tried to obfuscate the election. They did things that nobody's ever even imagined, even in other countries. You've seen some pretty rough countries. This man has seen some pretty rough countries, but you've never seen anything like it.
Apparently, Megyn Kelly has been convinced. Obama, Comey, Clapper, Clinton, Brennan, etc., 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 I don't remember, are all in deep shit. Mila Joy says, I pray she's right.
You've totally convinced me. You're as always, you're an honest broker, but you've totally convinced me. This is actually, I think they're in deep shit. And it's amazing, but my biggest takeaway is, how did Trump 1.0 not find these documents that Tulsi just revealed? Because they really show the story. But we're just going to walk the audience through it like third graders, because it's extremely dense. And it's taken me time and time again in reading all the materials to get it. So the deal was, let's start with let's go back to December of 2016. Barack Obama's president, but Trump has won and is going to be taking over as president in January. And they planned, the intel officials under Barack Obama planned, a lot of this is from Racket News, which everybody should read directly, Matt's group. Intel officials planned a December 9th, 2016 presidential daily brief, which is always from the intel community for the president, letting him know what's happening in the world. They planned a PDB that would say foreign adversaries, quoting here, foreign adversaries did not use cyber attacks on election infrastructure to alter the U.S. presidential election outcome. And they also plan to say, we have no evidence of cyber manipulation of election infrastructure intended to alter results. Here's the bottom line. What people need to know is Obama's intel community was about to give Obama a presidential daily brief that totally dismissed, downplayed, poo-pooed, choose your word, the notion that Russia had meaningfully interfered in the 2016 presidential election. That's true. And by the way, Matt has gone well beyond the language that just speaks to manipulation of election infrastructure and pointed out that if you look at what the intel community had been saying, it went well beyond dismissing they're not attacking our election infrastructure. They had doubts up and down the board about whether Russia had done anything more in 16 than it had ever done, which was just kind of attempts to be a menace and sow a little bit of chaos. And the intel communications that are released now by Tulsi show that. So while Andy and others are zeroing in on the notion that before they sat with Obama, they were going to tell him no attempts to hack our election infrastructure. And Andy will later argue them later coming out and saying, but lots of attempts to interfere in the election in general and totally to help Donald Trump. He's saying that's apples to oranges. Jim Himes, you point out at Racket News, is saying that's apples to oranges. There's no gotcha in Tulsi's big reveals about what was about to happen next, because nothing that happened next contradicted that they didn't try to hack our election databases.
Meanwhile, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, just announced she's officially ending the Obama-era Quiet Skies program, which was used to surveil American citizens on airplanes.
I'm Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, and today I'm announcing that TSA is ending the Quiet Skies program, which involved having a federal agent follow U.S. citizens as they traveled by air. It was created by Obama in 2012 to supposedly track dangerous individuals, but instead, it was weaponized against political enemies such as Tulsi Gabbard. And since its existence, it has failed to stop a single terrorist attack, while it costs U.S. taxpayers roughly about $200 million a year. Now, the Department of Homeland Security and TSA have uncovered documents, correspondence, and timelines that highlight the inconsistency of the application of Quiet Skies. And this program, under the guise of national security, has targeted political opponents and benefited political allies of the Biden administration. In addition to conducting our own internal investigation, I'm calling for a full and thorough congressional investigation to uncover further corruption that's in this program. So TSA is going to continue performing important vetting functions to stop security threats and to ensure the safety of the American traveler. The Trump administration will return TSA to its true mission of being laser focused on the safety and the security of traveling public. This includes restoring the integrity, the privacy, and the equal application of the law for all Americans.
And holy shit, it's happening. Trump is not kidding. According to this post here, it says he's going full scorched earth on Barack Hussein Obama and his cabal. And he says, after what they did to me, whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Trump says he caught Obama, Hillary, and all of them, and it's time.
The witch hunt that you should be talking about is they caught President Obama absolutely cold, Tulsi Gabbard. What they did to this country in 2016, starting in 2016, but going up all the way going up to 2020 of the election. They tried to rig the election and they got caught. And there should be very severe consequences for that. You know, when we caught Hillary Clinton, I said, you know what? Let's not go too far here. It's the ex-wife of a president, and I thought it was sort of terrible. And I let her off the hook, and I'm very happy I did. But it's time to start, after what they did to me, and whether it's right or wrong, it's time to go after people. Obama's been caught directly. So people say, oh, you know, a group. It's not a group. It's Obama. His orders are on the paper. The papers are signed. The papers came right out of their office. They sent everything to be highly classified. Well, the highly classified's been released. And what they did in 2016 and in 2020 is very criminal. It's criminal at the highest level. So that's really the things you should be talking.
And odds are using the auto pen excuse or defense isn't going to fly, because that didn't come about until former President Joe Biden. And we've got so much more to talk about and discuss here. We've got Tulsi Gabbard. We've got Laura Trump. We've got House Speaker Mike Johnson. We've got Alina Habba. We've got the mainstream media in a frantic case of an epic series of meltdowns, trying to walk back in memory hole some of the things that they said about President Trump and Russia collusion, which now show clearly their involvement and their potential likeliness and likelihood of prosecution, and probably much, much bigger costs associated with these crimes exceeding $16 million, which, Sarah, thank you for sending this email. It says Trump's CBS settlement. He says Paramount paid expected $16 million, but with $20 million more to come, and I'd be willing to bet even more, folks. And you see Stephen Colbert there. A rare sight to see, and rightfully so, because Stephen Colbert is on the way out the door. Goodbye, Stephen. Jon Stewart's no better, and the little dog and pony show dance he put on is extremely embarrassing, and I'm not going to subject you guys to that. But this one may literally just take you by surprise. Just then, Speaker Johnson tells me, and this is David Brody's post here, he has no concern at all about bringing former President Barack Obama in for a congressional deposition or subpoena over the newly declassified documents. Bombshell. Oh boy, folks. This is going to be a wild ride for sure.
What Tulsi Gabbard has done, the DNI chief, in essence, declassifying hundreds of documents that seem to suggest that manufactured intelligence was at play here with the Obama administration regarding this Russian collusion hoax. I've heard Stephen Miller call it a seditious conspiracy. I've heard Tulsi Gabbard call it a treasonous conspiracy. You're a constitutional guy. What do you see in this exactly? How do you term it?
Well, I don't know how to summarize it by way of description in a snappy phrase, but I will tell you it is deeply problematic. And before I became Speaker of the House, I served on the House Judiciary Committee, which had jurisdiction over a lot of this. And we knew what was happening. We knew intuitively, and we were gathering the evidence as we were investigating all of this ourselves. We knew the Russia collusion thing was a hoax. They used it as a basis to attack the president mercilessly. I served on his impeachment defense teams twice. That would be unheard of in history, that a president would be impeached twice on such spurless claims. But in those processes, as we were preparing for those defenses, as we were investigating with our oversight responsibility in judiciary, we recognized that the people who are being called out now were involved in a scheme. We knew that it was a shameless, false set of accusations, and yet they perpetuated the lie on the American people, and they looked right into the camera and just lied, clearly. And they knew what they were up to the whole time. So there must be accountability for that, because what it does ultimately, the greatest threat of all this is not just what they've done to President Trump as an individual, it's what they're doing to the institutions, even broader than that. They have diminished the people's faith in our system of justice itself, in the institution of the Department of Justice, in the institution of the FBI. And those are critical functions that are played in a constitutional republic. And so we're in the process of restoring trust and rebuilding the people's belief in our system of justice itself. And it's an extraordinary challenge that was brought about because people were involved in a sinister plot. And so there must be accountability.
You say there must be accountability. The DOJ will work on the criminal aspect of this. What's the role of the House here specifically? I mean, people want to see subpoenas, they want to see depositions, they want to see whether it be Brennan, Clapper, potentially the former president of the United States. Are you willing to go down that route? Because a lot of people want to see some of these folks questioned under oath.
Of course. Look, I think we have a responsibility to follow the truth where it leads, and to do it in an unbiased fashion, to do effectively the opposite of what that other team did. They're engaged in a partisan political plot to take down their foe and the other party. We need to be about the rule of law and bringing order to the chaos and searching out the truth, because the American people are owed those answers. So we have some very bright, very capable, very strong leaders at Judiciary and Oversight, Chairman Jim Jordan, Chairman Jamie Comer, and the other committees that would be involved. And I do expect that whether there's a special counsel appointed, which some are suggesting, and or in conjunction with the House investigations, that we will get the answers, and there will be accountability to the extent that we're able to do that, referring people to the DOJ for prosecution and any other measure that is appropriate as we begin to uncover more of the facts.
Does it get tricky at all with the former president, President Obama, looking at what his role in this is and bringing him in for some sort of deposition, potential subpoena?
Well, listen, we have no concern about that. If it's uncomfortable for him, he shouldn't have been involved in overseeing this, which is what it appears to us has happened. There's a lot of allegations on the table. Our job is to go and follow each of those trails and to find out the truth. So those are very serious allegations with very serious implications, but we're going to have very serious people working on it, and we will get the answers.
But we got so much more to discuss and cover here. Some other events that are trending right now in the news, making headlines. For instance, Hunter Biden says birds aren't real.
Have you read, I'm going to pretend like you're not getting attacked by a bee right now.
Hey, it's all right.
Keep my train of thought.
Without them, we would all
Just trying to root, by the way, that's true too. Birds aren't real, but bees are.
Conversation from Stephen Miller here in regard to the workforce, the differences we see today versus decades ago. And why the sudden shift? Why the change? Are you telling me that American citizens aren't willing to go to work? They're not willing to do the jobs, or at worst, you're saying they're not qualified, they're unskilled?
If you look at photos of the Empire State Building being constructed in record time, by the way, you know what you don't see there are any illegal aliens. You look at the photos of us landing a man on the moon, you look at the NASA control room, you don't see any photos of illegal aliens. Americans built this country, Americans sustained this country, Americans have powered this country for 2.5 centuries. Nobody voted.
According to CNN, the cost of beef is hitting record highs across the country. More soaring prices at the grocery store, it says here. Prices are up 9% since January, and beef is retailing at the grocery store for on average $9.26 a pound. That's a dramatic increase since the beginning of the year.
Wolf, new this morning, more soaring prices at the grocery store, but it's not eggs draining your wallet this summer. The Department of Agriculture says the cost of beef is hitting record highs across the country. Let's go to CNN business and politics correspondent Vanessa Yurkevich. Vanessa, break down these numbers for us.
Yeah, the last time that Americans may have noticed sticker shock at the grocery store was when eggs were at record prices. Since then, they have come down because the avian flu, which was killing millions of birds, has been contained and supply is now back up. But it's a different story for beef. Just look at prices since January, up 9%. And beef is retailing at the grocery store for on average $9.26 a pound. And that is a dramatic increase since the beginning of the year.
And let me know if you're seeing the same price jumps and inflation causing your cost of living expenses to rise. And I've had to read several comments today alone from folks just like you who told me that they are ecstatic now that they called the number on the screen and found out they can save money on their healthcare costs, which are a huge chunk of their budget, and just how fast, simple, and easy it was. Oh yeah, and free. Chapter helps people find savings with free Medicare advice that has a real impact on people's day-to-day lives. And they're the only ones who are unbiased and search through thousands of plans nationwide for you. And on average, savings breaking records of thousands of dollars when, let's be honest, I mean, right now, people desperately need all the help they can get. The number's on the screen. I'll leave it there for you guys. And I'll put it down below in the description, and I'll keep it in the pinned comment. It'll be saved right there for you. Easy access. Give them a call now, 270-467-2426, and see how much you could save. And I bet you'll be glad that you did. Go ahead. Call them. Do it now before it's too late.
The Trump administration is making a claim on the record about a criminal conspiracy at the highest levels in Washington, D.C. to undermine Trump and subvert the will of the voters. And it's far from the first criminal conspiracy that people in the Trump administration or Trump himself have claimed. I believe them. I mean, I believe this conspiracy happened. The evidence is overwhelming. So what then? What will the consequences be? Right now, President Trump is, making a bunch of posts on Truth Social depicting Obama officials in orange jumpsuits. Tulsi Gabbard is doing hits on Fox News and posting these threads on Twitter. They're sounding notes of indignation and outrage. All that is fine. But none of that matters if they fail to actually go and make arrests. Barack Obama himself should be in handcuffs. You cannot allege a treasonous conspiracy and then do nothing about it. Now, if I seem a bit cynical here, the typical pattern by Republicans since forever is to make these kinds of claims, but to make them only on social media and Fox News, and to never actually bring it to a court of law so the parties responsible can be held accountable for their crimes. And I'm tired of it. I'm sick to death of it. Go arrest these people and bring them to justice. Funny memes and outraged sound bites on Fox News are not going to cut it anymore. Go make an arrest. Put somebody in prison. And if you won't do that, then what does any of this matter? Why should we care about any of this? if you won't follow it up by putting people in prison. In fact, I'll say this. The consequences of these allegations from Tulsi must be one of two things. Either top Obama officials are arrested, or Tulsi Gabbard should be fired. Now, I like Tulsi. I hope she's not fired, but the only valid reason to not make any arrests is if the claims that she made are false. And if the DNI is falsely alleging treasonous conspiracies publicly, then clearly she should be run out of town. But if what she's saying is true, and I believe that it is, as I just outlined for 15 minutes, then failure to make arrests would make top Trump officials complicit in the conspiracy after the fact. There is no legitimate reason to make no arrests if the claims are true. So something must happen here. Someone has to be punished. Or else none of this means anything at all. It's just fodder for cable news and nothing else. Go make an arrest. Put somebody in handcuffs. Put Barack Obama in handcuffs. Not just in a meme, not in some AI-generated funny video. In real life. Now, they did it to Trump with far less justification. So what are you going to do, Trump administration? What are you actually going to do about this? Maybe something will happen, and I hope it does. But the pattern has always been that Republicans allege high crimes and misdemeanors only to punish precisely no one for them and to hold no one accountable in any way whatsoever. And this has to change. It has to change. Right now.
And so, as we just saw and heard there, Matt Walsh criticizing the Trump administration for not following through on allegations of a criminal conspiracy involving high-level Obama officials, specifically mentioning the lack of arrests despite claims of overwhelming evidence, which aligns with recent reports to declassified documents suggesting manufactured intelligence during the Obama era. Matt Walsh, in this post, also highlights a pattern of Republicans making serious accusations on social media and Fox News without pursuing legal action, ultimately expressing frustration that such claims remain unaddressed, which contrasts with the administration's actions like Trump posting AI-generated images of Obama in prison and DNI Tulsi Gabbard's referral of Obama officials to the Justice Department. Matt Walsh's demand for tangible consequences such as arrests reflects a broader skepticism about the effectiveness of political rhetoric versus action, especially in the context of the Trump administration's focus on past political controversies like Russiagate amidst distractions like the Epstein files, which I'm getting mixed reviews from you guys in the comments on whether or not you want more coverage of the Epstein files or you're glad that I'm done talking about them. But let's just be honest here, folks. I don't make the news. I just kind of share and talk about some of the things that is trending right now. And that seems to be one of them. Another trend that I've picked up on is the misinterpretation of what Trump actually campaigned on. And I hate to break it to some of you folks. Trump never campaigned on lowering interest rates, and Trump never campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. So there's that.
Give me your response to what we heard from former President Obama there. He's saying that none of this makes any sense, that this is a distraction. What do you say to that?
So breaking just moments ago, former President Obama's office responding after Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard accused his administration of using, quote, manufactured intelligence about President Trump and Russia. Gabbard sending a referral to the Justice Department and calling for, quote, accountability. President Obama's office saying, quote, nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in 2020 in the report by the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio. That report moments ago from President Obama's office, the story that we were discussing earlier in the hour.
It's the art of deflection coming from former President Obama as well as his
friends who are still in Congress today, and Senator Warner and Congressman Jim Himes, really all basically saying that exact same statement, which doesn't actually address the issue that was revealed in great detail in the over 100 documents that we released last week, and the documents that we will be releasing later this week that point to the undeniable fact that you laid out in your introduction to this segment, is that the intelligence community had one assessment, that Russia did not have the intent or capability to try to impact the outcome of the U.S. election leading up to Election Day. The same assessment was made after Donald Trump was elected by the American people as president in 2016, defeating Hillary Clinton. And it wasn't until after that pulled President's Daily Brief document that you referenced that the Principals Committee was called in the National Security Council, and President Obama then directed Obama's DNI James Clapper to lead the effort to create this new intelligence community assessment that detailed not if, but how Moscow attempted to influence the outcome of the U.S. election. So this is the thing that I think people should pay attention to, is neither the message from President Obama's office, neither the statements coming from Democrats in Congress today and their friends in the propaganda media. None of them are addressing this fact that there was a shift, a 180-degree shift from the intelligence community's assessment leading up to the election to the one that President Obama directed be produced after Donald Trump won the election, that completely contradicted those assessments that had come previously. The second thing I want to address that's very important, Laura, is that you in the clip that you played, you saw John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey stated with high confidence this January intelligence community assessment that they drafted at the direction of President Obama. The fact is that they used already discredited information like the Steele dossier. They knew it was discredited at that time, yet they used it as a source for this document that they claim to have high confidence in. They used intelligence that some of these intelligence community professionals rejected previously because of the lack of credibility and the lack of the ability to vet with any kind of confidence whether or not that information or intelligence was accurate and could be used for an assessment. There's a long laundry list of facts and intelligence reporting that directly contradict the statement coming from President Obama's office and those who are trying to deflect away from what actually happened, which was after Donald Trump was elected, led by President Obama, there was an effort to create a document that would serve as a foundation for what would be a years-long coup against President Trump, therefore trying to subvert the will of the American people who sent him to the White House in 2016.
But going back to one of the things that Matt Walsh was talking about, and we see here this post that Decoding Fox News puts up that says Donald J. Trump's granddaughter went on Fox and Friends to shill for an energy drink company. She's an 18-year-old high school junior, and she doesn't rank on the over 1,500 PGA list for the best girl high school golfers. The family that grifts together, ...
She is the granddaughter of the most powerful man in the world and the highest valued girls high school golfer. And now Kai Trump has an exciting announcement. Hey, Kai.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, doing well. Great to see you. Tell me about this partnership, why you decided to do it.
Well, I love energy drinks. My whole life, for the past few years, I've loved energy drinks. And I actually ordered them on Amazon not too long ago. And I loved all the flavors. I loved everything about them. And it was just a organic partnership. And I love the company working with it and the people as well. And it just ended up being amazing for us.
That's great. I mean, you're called the highest valued high school golfer. Tell me about playing with your grandfather. How much of an influence did he have on your life?
He had a really big influence on my life. And playing golf with him, he just taught me to just keep on working at it. And obviously I've gotten a lot better the past few years with golf, but he really just taught me to keep on fighting and just keep on practicing and whatnot. And I've loved playing golf with him my whole life. And it's something that we share a special bond together. So, yeah.
Just as a tail-end question, tell us what you love most about Accelerator, why other students your age or all of us should drink this.
Yeah. So, well, Accelerator, I love most about it is just the different flavor options, and as well as there's no sugar. And I don't eat a lot of sugar at all, just because I kind of get like a little jittery and then I crash. And with Accelerator, there's no sugar, so I don't crash at all. So that's what I love about it. And I don't really get like that feeling with energy drinks where you drink it and then like 2 hours later you just feel like you're about to fall asleep. Like I don't get that with Accelerator. So that's why I felt like it was a great partnership.
I love that. No sugar. I'll have to try it. Thank you so much, Kai.
And I just find this extremely entertaining, humorous, comical, somewhat like these folks here on CNN.
Russia hacking the election to elect Trump is the end of our democracy. Votes were definitely affected. Russia hacked the election to tilt it to Mr. Trump.
The Russians definitively hacked the election. Russia did hack the election.
No doubt. The Russians hacked the election.
Yes, Russia hacked the election.
Fact, Russia hacked the election.
President-elect Donald Trump still not sounding convinced that Russia hacked the election.
The president does not want to come to terms with the fact that the Russians hacked the election.
President Trump says he still wonders if the Russians hacked the election.
If you can get him to accept that Russia hacked the election, see if you can get him to accept who won the Civil War.
If he admits it, it casts a shadow on his victory over Hillary Clinton.
Russia hacked the election. Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Russia hacked the election.
Let's be clear, Russia hacked the election. Definitively, Russia hacked the election, and Russia is doing it again now.
Election-related cyber hacking.
Cyber hacking of U.S. elections. Cyber hacking of the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
Russia was cyber hacking the election.
The CIA, the FBI, NSA.
All of these intelligence organizations,
17 intelligence agencies,
all conclude that Russia hacked the election.
If we find out that Donald Trump just theoretically was colluding with Russia while they were hacking the election, that is completely impeachable.
This dossier alleged a conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian effort to hack the election.
The director of national intelligence, the head of the National Security Agency, the head of the FBI, all of these intelligence experts saying Russia hacked the election.
The FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper, I mean, they've all said this. So to believe that that's wrong, you have to believe they're all involved in an elaborate conspiracy to get Donald Trump, which seems a little far-fetched to me.
I just find it interesting how folks pick and choose and decide who they want to hate on and not. Whereas if we were to compare Kai Trump to Angel Reese, well, who's more deserving? I mean, let's just really be honest here. Who's more athletic? Who's better in their specific sport? And one walks out on the court on national TV wearing a T-shirt saying she needs to be paid more, and the other is playing golf and engaging in marketing and advertising. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with what Kai Trump is attempting to do, and I wish her all the success in the world. And I feel as though she'll probably be very successful. Not as successful as these federal judges in New Jersey who have refused to extend Alina Habba's role as interim U.S. attorney. Benny Johnson says this is unacceptable. Cancel the August recess. Get all nominees confirmed.
Back to the White House soon. Federal judges in the District of New Jersey have declined to extend Alina Habba's appointment as interim U.S. attorney. President Trump appointed Habba to the position on March the 24th. Interim U.S. attorneys are only allowed to serve for 120 days if they are not either confirmed by the U.S. Senate or extended indefinitely by the district court in their jurisdiction. We'll find out. Back to the White House soon.
It's always something, isn't it? It's always something.
On Friday, Donald Trump posted, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings." How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism? Go yourself.
Oh man, there's so much hate right now It's unbelievable. It's almost kind of hard to keep track of it all. And there's a ton of hate right now on the left coast, the West Coast, California, which my wife, Michelle, Squirrel Tribe, she brought up a really good point today. She goes, why is Elon Musk investing so much money into California for this Tesla drive-in in a state that he chose to leave? He's turned his back on President Trump. He's turned his back on MAGA. He's turned his back on Republicans and conservatives. He's turned his back on you and I. And now he's diverting back to the Democrats, I guess. But really, more importantly, this shocking and infuriating recent share here, as celebrities and others raised almost $100 million for the LA fires. You remember those, right? It appears that almost none of it has gone to the actual victims. Instead, it's being distributed to a bunch of completely unrelated nonprofits.
For Fire Aid, that star-studded concert that raised $100 million for wildfire victims. But where did all that money go? Investigative journalist Sue Pascoe has been digging for answers, and what she's discovered might just surprise you. And Sue Pascoe, she joins me now live on set. You are the editor of Circling the News. Yes, we can clearly see that. Thanks for the work that you're doing. So this is personal and professional for you because you lost your home in the Palisades fire, but that's not necessarily how this story landed in your lap. How did this all come to be?
A reader sent me a little note and said, I've never seen any fire aid money. How do I apply for fire aid money? And I thought, well, you know, I've never thought about that. There's 12,000 people, basically 12,000 homes gone. Those people probably want to know where the money is. This will be an easy task to find out. So I contacted the Annenberg. They never responded.
And the Annenberg is
foundation, because they are overseeing the wildfire funds, yes. So I emailed them several times. They never responded. I called them several times. They never responded. And finally, it was like almost 2 weeks later, a woman got back to me and she said, oh, I'm sorry for the delay. The person you need to speak to is Chris Wallace. He's a media spokesperson for wildfire funds. So I contacted Chris and I said, you know, victims want to know when they can get their money. Seems like a very simple question. He said, basically, they don't. All this money are going to nonprofits, and then nonprofits will take care of making sure the money's distributed. So I looked at initially they gave $50 million to about 120 nonprofits. And I looked at these nonprofits, and one of them said, we help mobile home parks. And there were 2 mobile home parks in the Palisades, all low income. And so I contacted the people there. They had never received any money. They had never heard of that. When you go through, I would urge everyone to just go to the nonprofits that are listed if you want a good laugh. I mean, one of the nonprofits cleans preschool bathrooms. Well, after the fire, who knows? Maybe there is a preschool bathroom that needs cleaning.
Yeah. In other words, a lot of these nonprofits are ancillary, if you will.
That's a nice way of saying it.
And you urge people, our viewers, they can go on the Fire Aid website. And yes, in terms of if you're Fire Aid, you can say, we have listed all the nonprofits. So they've given out $75 million so far. And you can see for yourself each nonprofit that has received money. The vetting process, though, that's an interesting angle to this story as well, because there's still another round of funding that will be given out. If you're a nonprofit, you would just have to fill out a simple, very simple questionnaire. 6 questions. So what do you make of the vetting process?
I think they're not helping the victims at all. Let's just say, and the other thing you should know, if you go on there, they don't say how much each individual nonprofit gets. So there are 2 nonprofits that are for the homeless people in the Palisades, Los Angeles in general, that they're getting money from LASA. So why are these nonprofits also getting money from Fire Aid? I don't know. They're homeless nonprofits. Of course, we're all homeless now, but
and to be clear, we have reached out to actually the Attorney General, Rob Bonta, to see if this is on his radar, because this is a whole lot of money and you are well connected in your community and you don't know anybody who has received Fire Aid money.
That's correct.
So what is your advice if you're a victim, and there are several who are probably watching tonight who lost their home like yourself, where do you go from here?
Hopefully with people like you who are bringing it to the attention of America, really, because we have all these people I know in the Midwest where I'm from who said, we want to give money, where do we give it? How can we help the people? This fire aid money is not helping the people. It's helping nonprofits, many of them who have executives that are getting a six-figure salary. The money is not going to the victims that you wanted the money to go to.
Yeah, you make a great point, because there's a lot of people, this was an international story, and a lot of people gave, people who really couldn't afford to give money, they big
sent their
hearts.
$20,
right.
yes.
And said, where's that money going, right?
Exactly.
All right, well, if you want to follow Sue's reporting, you can do so. Again, this is at circlingthenews.com. Sue Pasco, sorry that you lost your home. Hopefully you see some of this money and your neighbors do too. Thank you so much for being here tonight and shedding light on this.
Thank you.
All right, Alex, over to you.
And also, we are coming up on, or we just recently passed, the 1-year anniversary of Democrats stealing and wasting more money with the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz campaign and Megan Thee Stallion twerking concerts and wild and crazy shit. Speaking of wild and crazy, this one is definitely taking the internet by storm.
Exit the vehicle. Open my door because my window don't work, right? And then I said, so what I did wrong? Yeah. He said, well, for one, your headlights are.
Yeah, this one's circulating hard, folks. And Terrible asks, after watching this body cam clip, do you think that the police actions were justified? Let me know if you guys have seen that one. I won't be showing it to you here because I don't want to get flagged for it. And look at this. Now, I got to tell you guys, I've watched this over and over and over again. I've really lost count on how much time I've spent watching this video, and I can't figure this out for the life of me. What breed of horse is this? Or at least that's what the caption reads in the description of this post. And is that a Dalmatian? Wait, no. Because a Dalmatian is a dog. It's not a horse. I mean, it's huge. I'd imagine the amount of food, the amount of money you'd have to spend on food to feed this breed would be insane. Oop, I almost ripped her top off there. Man, I think that's a dog. Or maybe it is a horse. I'm not really sure. Relatively well behaved. And he really likes her. She's speaking Italian? Maybe it's an Italian horse. But here we go, folks. Piers Morgan.
The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, has directed for her deputy to go and see Ghislaine in prison. What is your response to that, first of all?
Well, you really have to ask yourself, why didn't the DOJ ask to speak to Ghislaine before they indicted her? Why is it only now? And the reason I say that is because in 2019, after Epstein died and up until Ghislaine's own arrest in 2020, she was, to the best of her knowledge and her lawyer's knowledge, not a target. She remained in the United States. They made her, Ghislaine, available for questions and kept on being said, she's not a target, she's not a target. Suddenly, bang, 60 officers come down on a house in New Hampshire where she was, huge show, this part of arrest and so forth, and then there is a disgraceful press conference organized by the DOJ's attorney in New York, and she is pointed at with a picture of Epstein, the subtext being, this woman is guilty. So we considered that all of that entire process was prosecutorial misconduct, And finally, they decided that they want to talk to her.
So you think it should have been done years ago?
Of course.
And Representative Robert Garcia on Ghislaine Maxwell.
I mean, Democrats obviously supported that unanimously, but I just want to make something really clear, which I think is really important. We should welcome the truth and as much information as possible. We should be looking and continue to push for a full release of the files. I think it's important for people to know that she obviously is a documented liar and someone that has caused enormous harm to young girls and women. And so I just want to be clear that this is not, we want her to be able to come forward. We support that we should also be very concerned about what she's going to say and how Donald Trump and his Department of Justice is going to try to influence that decision. So those things are really important.
On the Trump, the Trump administration is now interviewing Ghislaine Maxwell. There's talks about there. Are you worried that there is any kind of hints that there could be a plea deal, a way for her to get out, or?
First of all, to be clear, she obviously wants to be free, and she understands that there's opportunity in her in working with Donald Trump and what she says. And so I think we just have to be aware of that. We should still want as much information out there as possible. We should still want to have her come testify in front of oversight in the Congress. But we should just be we should understand that this is a very complex witness and someone that has caused great harm and not a good person to a lot of people.
Is there a Chairman oversight play in getting more information on these files on this whole information?
I think the important thing is that Donald Trump is still hiding and going back on his main campaign promise. And so we still, separate of her possible testimony in front of Congress, we need the Department of Justice to work with the White House, to work with Congress, and declassify and release the full Epstein files. And that's still not happening right now. So that's our focus, is why did he do such a huge turnaround, especially when he's admitting that he's in those files in some way. We know that to be true. That's already a public record. And so we're going to continue. We're not going to stop pushing for that release.
Chairman Comer said he's going to look into an investigation because of Hunter Biden's statement saying that Joe Biden was on Ambien the day before the debate. What's your reaction to that?
I don't know. I obviously haven't watched the Hunter Biden interview. I heard those comments. Look, Jim Comer and the Oversight Committee, the only person's health that they're obsessed with in this country is Joe Biden. They're cutting healthcare from 17 million people, and they want to keep focusing back on how Joe Biden is doing or how he was doing back when he was president. I think it's time to move on and actually forward and focus on actually a forward-looking agenda. And they're obsessed with Joe Biden. He's not the president anymore. Let's move on. Thanks, guys.
No, but I, as you all know, I speak to the president multiple times a day on a typical day, often, always. And what I know about the president's heart on this is that he agrees with everything I've said here today. He wants maximum transparency, but he's also very insistent that we do not subject people who have already been victims of unspeakable crimes to further public scrutiny. And it would be a very dangerous thing to put those people's names out or to do a release of information in a way that is haphazard where they could be easily unmasked. And so you have to be very careful about how you do that. I think we have a moral responsibility to do that. We have a moral responsibility to expose the evil of Epstein, and everybody was involved in that. Absolutely. And we're resolved to do it. But we also have an equal moral responsibility to protect the innocent. And that is a fine needle to thread. And we could all give ourselves easy political cover and come out and do something in a haphazard fashion, but I would not be able to sleep at night because I know our legal responsibility. I understand what the legal standard is, but more than that, the moral standard, okay? So we're going to do this, and we're going to do it expeditiously. We're going to do it the right way. What is popular isn't always right, and what is right isn't always popular. I had an 8th grade teacher tell me that one time. I carried it with me my whole life. We're going to do the right thing here. And the American people at the end will see that we did that in the right way and on the right timetable. Yes, sir.